Hello, and welcome to Kara in Boston. Sorry, I have no makeup on. I haven't done my hair. It's Memorial Day weekend, and I have been spending most of the weekend. Oh, I'm not even like dressed. I've been spending most of the weekend cleaning up. As you can see, all that stuff over there is gone, and I'm working on my apartment. I just wanted to jump on here and let you know that I had my second hearing because guys, you don't know what's going on, but back a year or so ago, I was working for a company. We hired a new person to be my supervisor, and after about a month, I had just about all I could take, and so I ended up quitting. And at that point, I thought that was the best thing for everybody involved. And I thought, how hard is it going to be for me to get another job if I say that I was fired? But I felt like that was inevitably where this was headed. So I went ahead and filed for unemployment, and they, of course, denied my unemployment. I had to put in for an appeal. We had our first hearing back in April, and it just went so long that we had a follow up hearing, and that was Wednesday. So this has been going on. I had been unemployed at the time, I think 4.5 months or so. I had worked at another job for a month, and now I have had my new job for a month. So that's how long this has been going on. A couple of things people might be like, well, at this point, whatever, just let it go. Yes, but a, I feel like I'm due the unemployment. I paid into it. I feel like the circumstance would have allowed me to get this unemployment money. Um, in addition to that, I spent basically every dime of my savings that I had to live for those 5 months without any income. And so there were things that I planned on doing, like my surgery for my cyst and things like that, that I need some money set aside for that. My foot surgery, my sister's wedding, just things have come up and I need money to do those things. And I spent all of my savings. Plus, I've spent all my savings, which that was what I was starting to put away for, long-term things. So I feel like I really need that money. And three, I feel like the way I was treated by specifically this woman, the company in general, but specifically this woman, that even if I'm not going to get the unemployment, I tell you, I am damn sure going to waste her time because it was just obnoxious. So, long story, longer, short, I don't know. What happened was we went to the hearing. I didn't have any witnesses or statements at the time because everybody I knew was still working there. That has changed. There have been several people who had quit for similar circumstances, like they just didn't have another job, but they just went ahead and quit because they were unhappy. And a few people who were randomly fired for no cause that they were told about, which I get, maybe we're a no cause state, but they weren't given any reason and had no indication that they had done anything um, that would warrant firing. So we went through the first hearing. So they had a lawyer or attorney or a representative or whatever, and then there was a judge or a mediator. I'm not sure what, but and then my former boss and my former she was, when I started, she was the HR generalist, and then she moved up to the manager of people ops. Frankly, I don't really understand why we had a director of people ops at the time. I don't know what she did. It didn't seem to change her job at all. It was just a title change, maybe a bump in salary because they liked her and she was nice or whatever. Keeping in mind that the year that I worked there, we were a four-person team. Everybody else had work from home options other than myself. So I would say at least half the week, I was probably alone, or possibly one other person was in. Usually it was our recruiter who was in the most often. But for the most part, my boss and this HR generalist, now manager of people ops, was out of the office a lot. I never had the opportunity to work from home. I had been given a direction when I first got hired, like, well, we're very European. We start at 10 o'clock. And I was like, okay, great. So I started working. I would come in like between 9:30 and 10, thinking that that was the time they wanted me to arrive. Keep in mind that even though I was an office manager at this job, I did not sit at the front desk. They had no real visitors. And if they did, we had a iPad in the hallway, and people would sign in, and it would send an email to that person, and that person would go get their guests. Like, so I didn't have to be at the site to, to greet new visitors, turn anything on, open doors, stuff like that. People were coming in. I think we had a couple of people that would come in at like 6 o'clock. We also had our factory down the street, which people would come in much earlier. They had like way early shifts. They would be done like by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I didn't have to go and sit at the front desk. So there really wasn't a real reason for me to not have the opportunity to work from home one day a week. In addition, the job that I was doing had a lot of online elements. I was putting together a weekly newsletter. I did the graphics and things for the television and changed up the TV. I did host events. So there were times where I was in early to do pancake day, or I think I did crepes once and a build your own waffle bar and all those things in the morning. So I would come in early. And then we had once a week, we had our Thirsty Thursday. Not once a week. Sorry, that was the other. Was it once a week? Gosh, I can't remember now. We had a happy hour. So I think it was every month we had a happy hour because we also had like a all hands meeting thing. So there were other times where I'd be in there later. And while my contract did state like a 40-hour general work week, it was never really implicit that meant I had to be there from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or like with the lunch or whatever. So I often just ate lunch at my desk. There really was no place in the general vicinity to go to eat. So you either just ate downstairs or you ate at your desk, or maybe there was one kind of restaurant that was within walking distance that people would go to. But for the most part, I would just like eat through my lunch. So my general hours were like 9 to 5, ate through my lunch. Sometimes I came in early, sometimes I came in late. All this is going to be really relevant. I promise you. I'm sorry. So we had this first meeting, and most of that was just me kind of telling my story. Like the judge, media person would ask me questions. I would answer those questions. And then the person who was, and that was really as far as we got, I think, was my questioning. So then last week we had another meeting. Same people were involved. Their person, lawyer, representative, whatever, asked me like 2 or 3 questions, I think, and then the witnesses, my ex-boss and the I'm just going to call her the HR generalist because that's what she was to me. I don't think I remembered her even getting the bump or what. Like I said, it didn't affect our relationship job wise. So she was also a witness. So they talked a little bit about like what I had written in my statement. They talked about what went on in the office and their opinion. And then I had the opportunity to ask them some questions. But it was really interesting what came up during this, this time was they were talking about like so I had a 1-year review. Keep in mind that my boss, the person who had hired me, who I considered my boss, had been there about 9 months and she was there longer, but 9 months with me, or so, maybe 8 months. And she left. I think she left sometime in maybe July of 2022. So I had gotten hired back in November. So we were together like 8-9 months, and we would meet like once a week ish, and we would talk about like, oh, here's what's coming up. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go down and get decorations. We're going to pull them out, whatever, all this stuff, right? Never once did she ever say anything about my job performance, anything about what I wasn't doing, anything I needed to step up. Like, we never had a conversation about that. I didn't ask because my thought was like, she is my supervisor. If she had any issues with what I was doing or wanted me to step things up or do more, that she would have brought that to my attention. I assumed that if nobody said anything, that things were fine. And maybe that was bad on my part. Maybe I should have said, by the way, how am I doing? And I've just been an office manager so long, it just didn't even, I thought things were fine. And as far as I knew, so did she. So then she ended up leaving. She was having some issues with the work-life balance and work and everything. So she ended up leaving, which was fine. During the interim, I was being supervised, I guess, for lack of a better word, by her boss, who was, I don't even know what his job title is at this moment, but whatever. It's probably not important. So I was being supervised by this person. However, we met, I believe, one time to talk. He wanted to know, like, what did I do? Didn't really have a clear idea of what my responsibilities were. So that was basically it. We sat down and had a talk and I said, okay, well, I get packages, I order food, I do the events, I decorate the common spaces for whatever the month is. Maybe it's like Pride Month, or maybe it's like History Month, or whatever those things are. So I decorate for those. I was hosting some breakfast things. I was hosting some after things. I also managed the parking passes, the key fobs. We had dogs in the office, so I managed the dogs and things like that. Oh, hello.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So there was a lot of things, and I was explaining this to him, and he was like, "Wow, okay." I think he was surprised by all the work that I was doing. So then, what I did was nothing. Like we didn't meet again. We didn't have any conversations at all. How, however, um, November was coming up, and my 1 year review was coming up, and I thought, who's sorry, who's going to do this review? My boss was gone. The guy who was taking over didn't really have an idea of what I did. I'm gonna cough again. Hang on. Oh, hello, Tyler.
Hello.
I'm talking about my unemployment. Um, so in the meantime, we finally hired a new person. So this person came on, I believe, in October. So we worked together roughly 1 month. And in the 1 month that she was there, keep in mind that she had a vet appointment. She had her a shoulder appointment. She did work from home. So she was probably in the office near me and in meetings about half the time. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? I'm going to have to do a part 2. I'll see you guys.